This is the Turbo 3 from Redmi, which may be possibly the POCO F6, and it is a value offering from Xiaomi that has a lot on offer for it's around about $280 to $300 price tag. It's powered by the Snapdragon 8S Gen 3. 256 gigabytes of UFS 4.0 storage, 12 gigabytes of RAM is the version I have here, 5,000 milliamp hour battery with 90-watt charging, and it does have a 50 megapixel main camera with optical image stabilization, and electronic can shoot 4K up to 60 frames per second. The screen 6.67 inches, 120 Hz AMOLED, and screen fingerprint reader too. So there's a lot on offer with this model here, and hopefully this will be the POCO F6 if Xiaomi decides to rebrand it, which is pretty much what they always normally do. So at the time of this video, there is no POCO F6 yet, which this is rumored to be believed to be that model because they just rebrand things, Xiaomi. They do that a lot here. But what you get included is a Type A to Type C cable, 90-watt charger, and you do get a SIM tray tool, a little bit of paperwork, which is in Chinese. And I did get this from GizTop, and you'll see that we get a TPU case, and this is in this nice matte gray color, with the cutouts and a little bit of protection there for the two rear cameras. So the Turbo 3, this import version, can be bought for around about $300 for the 256 gigabytes of storage that you get. This is the base model with 12 gigabytes of RAM that I got again from GizTop. So the back material here, this feels like it is definitely plastic to me. Now we have two cameras. We've got a fairly decent 50 megapixel sensor here with optical image stabilization. It is one of the newest Sony ones, and electronic image stabilization can shoot 4K 30, 4K 60. However, the rinse and repeat, same old parts bin, parts have used ultra wide camera, which is 8 megapixels. It's okay, but a little bit disappointing. But for the price point of around $300 US, can't really complain. Nice rounded curved edges to it. Picks up fingerprints a little bit, not too bad. It seems to resist them quite well. We have our flash right there, the Redmi branding. Pretty simplistic there. USB 3, no, it is USB 2.0, sadly. So no video out with this. It does take 2 nano SIMs. There's no micro SD card support, which I would have liked to have seen from them. Downward firing loudspeaker at the top here. IR transmitter, another mic, in-screen fingerprint reader, optical, not ultrasonic of course, and it works well. I've had really no problems with it. My only complaint is that I wish the location was a bit higher. I think it's far too low, but I can easily get at least to the power button, volume up and down from this side. Bezels look good. 20 megapixel camera here at the front and 120 Hz OLED display, 6.67 inches. It is 1220, the resolution, by 2712, and that gives us a pixel density of 446 ppi. The overall brightness, well, they claim that it can get up to 2400 nits. It's another of these ones that I think it's just a bit of marketing BS there, because I'm not able to measure those kind of brightnesses. I get just over 700 nits. Indirect sunlight, can you read it? Yes, you can. You can make it out so that it at least is good. The lister knows with the Turbo 3 does continue because there is no 3.5mm headphone jack, no LTE band 20, no Android Auto. Now we do have with our display a lot of options in here, which are all pretty standard now. So color scheme, white balance can be adjusted. All good news. I just like to show you that. And the refresh rate, do we get 90 Hz? Sadly, we do not, but we get 60 or 120. And the UI does run pretty good. So we have Android 14, HyperOS 14, and when you do get it from GizTop, they've debloated this. Now, whether they've done that just because they knew it was for me and I was going to be reviewing it, or they do this for everyone, I don't know, sadly, but I think it's something that they do often do. They run like a script or something and just get rid of most of that bloatware, which is very good there. You can see that, well, here that I have hardly anything. Just installed the necessary apps for myself personally that I do like to use. You could also say that GizTop went a little bit overboard when they did install the bloatware, because they took away the photo app, which I do like. The stock gallery that is included there with HyperOS from Xiaomi's not a bad app. It's gone, but you'll be able to get that again. You can see just how light it is when I first powered it on, that there is no bloatware at all. So this is really good, but remember, this is not a global ROM, so we are stuck in here with just, unfortunately, English and Chinese, and this too, Widevine level 3 cert at the time of this video. This is within Netflix, I checked, and it states a Widevine level 3, with Netflix at least. But for everything else, it should be Widevine level 1, as you can see here, but we're just going to have to wait for Netflix to update this, which can take months, a very long time for that to happen. But Amazon Prime Video and others are in full HD at least, so that's a minor problem that's going to eventually fix itself. So we have Camera 2 API support level 3, very good. There are firmware updates already being pushed out, and there was one that I have had so far to just help improve the camera application, system tweaks, touch response improved, and then storage UFS 4.0 with that Snapdragon 8S Gen 3. It's quick here, very quick indeed. For the price point, that is pretty amazing. The kind of speeds we're getting are definitely flagship level. And what about throttling? Does it get really hot? It's a chipset that will get warm. You can certainly feel it when you game for long periods. Running this test that goes for 20 minutes, it shows that it's just went over 18%, the performance drop that is. So the performance you can see here, the 3,213 dropped down to 2,625. All in all, not too bad there. Just like the charging. So it's 33 minutes to go from 8% to 100% at 90 watts. Good charge speeds. In my books, anything that's under an hour, and that's, well, just about 30 minutes, is excellent. Like the battery life. Fixed test here with PC Mark, and it just sets it to loop and it stops at 20%, gives you the result here. Very good. But realistically, you're looking more like 9 hours or so of on-screen time, especially if you force it to 120 Hertz. Running at 60, then you get this here, which was the dynamic refresh rate. So that's why it's 12 hours and 4 minutes. So battery life is pretty good for the 5,000 milliamp hour battery that it does have. And then the Antutu score, not bad at all for a $300 phone, being able to get 1.5, just over 1.5 million points here with Antutu version 10. You can see there's no real weak area. The UI slightly, but look at the performance of the CPU and the GPU especially, really good. And it went up 8 degrees. We lost 7% battery from just running Antutu, but that is pretty standard. So the Redmi lineup used to always have a 3.5mm headphone jack, normally at the top, sometimes at the bottom, and you would get the micro SD card slot support too. But no, both of those are gone now, even with the mid-ranges, it seems, with Xiaomi. But the loudspeakers are not too bad at all. Haptics is, well, it's a tiny little pulse that is nothing really amazing, but the loudspeaker here and here, you hear there's a little bit of bass from the sample, which I will play at 100% volume. Not a bad loudspeaker at all, considering this is a $300 mobile. Gaming now with Genshin Impact, Snapdragon 8S Gen 3, not a bad chip at all. It has that performance of an Antutu score, about 1.5 million. You do notice this. So it has power to play this game on the top settings, but I would recommend maybe just lowering them down a little. You get the occasional little stutter in some areas, more so when it loads things in that you're going to see that happening, which is pretty standard for this game being so demanding. Now, thermals, yes, it is going to get a little hot on the back, and considering it is a plastic back on it, well, it acts as an insulator there. But all up, it's not getting to the point where I have to kind of break out a thermal probe and go, no, you know what, it's getting too hot. It's only getting up to the mid sort of late 40s. It's not getting right into the mid 50s or anything. So that is just fine when it comes to the thermal. So good gaming performance. It all is checking out. And again, I mean, for that price point, this is a absolute bargain here to get this kind of performance at around the $300 price point. So well done, Xiaomi Redmi with the Turbo 3. I'm quite certain this one's going to come up. What about 5G? Is that working? It seems to be working fine for me. The speeds are slightly slower than what I typically see, but it's not like deal breaker slow, anything like that. And this also is asked a lot. Wi-Fi calling Yes, you do have that option and it is working. But remember, no LTE band 20 for 4G. Looking at our cameras now with the Redmi Turbo 3. So front-facing cameras, 20 megapixels. We have seen so much of this sensor. It's 1080p only, and you can see the quality isn't too bad. It may be overexposing a little bit actually on my face here. I have to see once I get back in the studio to look at the footage there, but I believe it is a little. So the main rear camera, 50 megapixels, can shoot 4K, 30, 4K, 60 frames per second with electronic image stabilization. The quality is alright. There's no real wind at the moment, so we shouldn't be hearing any wind noise. And if you want to go over to the ultra wide, we have to knock that resolution down to just 1080p, because the 8 megapixel camera, that only shoots 1080p maximum. And here's that ultra wide now, so definitely the weakest of the cameras. It's like their parts bin. They've just reused this 8 megapixel ultra wide Xiaomi over and over again. But at least we do have an ultra wide. That's really all I'll say about this. The quality leaves a lot to be desired. It's not wonderful, the ultra wide.
On our cameras. So it's clear straight away when you use this phone, it's not flagship level when it comes to cameras. Definitely mid-range. The indoor portrait photos and the selfie you saw before have a little bit of skin smoothing, even though turned down beautify options. This is the main camera, which takes a decent photo. Main camera 2x digital, okay here in good light. And this is our ultra wide, the weakest camera, certainly around the edges. There's a little bit of noise to it, not so sharp. And again, this is back to the main camera, which is okay, but 2x digital zoom with that main camera I found to be reasonably poor. Low light, a lot of noise and grain to it. This is why I say it's not a flagship level, so never consider that. And the shot, you can see a lot of noise, blotchiness, grain. So not amazing cameras, but then when you factor in that it's $300 US, yeah, they're okay.
So Xiaomi is really back to their roots on value offerings with the Redmi Turbo 3. Great performance, good chipset, well-optimized UI running at 120 frames per second if you set the refresh rate to 120, that is. And okay, you get those cons that are typical for an import phone. A Chinese phone like this has no LTE band 20 for 4G, which could be a major issue for some, especially people in Germany that often use that band, and other countries in Europe too as well. And then there is no Android Auto, but those two things will be fixed if this does become global. If they release it as the POCO F6, then, well, you have those, which is good, and that could be them just off the list. But what does remain that I'm going to be criticizing here is the ultra-wide camera. Come on, that 8 megapixel camera they've been using for so many years. It's there again, which is a little disappointing, but hey, great to have an ultra-wide camera at this price point. The other is no 3.5mm headphone jack, no micro SD card support. Would have loved to have seen that, but the speakers on this, fairly decent, great performance, good screen, even though it's not the claimed brightness. Even me testing it out HDR files, playing them locally, trying to mess around with the auto brightness and other things, I just could not get 2400 nits. But anyway, it's a bright AMOLED screen, it's fast, it's fluid, HyperOS is good, and Giztop de-bloated this and they got rid of all of the crap on this, which is good to see again. So all up, very good phone for that around 300 US price tag. It really is one to beat here. Thanks a lot for watching my review of the Redmi Turbo 3.